Hello and welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making the stuffed puffer pig from the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge cookbook. The ingredients we're going to need are two roughly 1.5 pounds apiece pork tenderloins that I've gone ahead and cleaned up, removed as much of the silver skin as I could. You'll need 1 pound of bacon, 3 cups of loosely packed baby spinach leaves, 1 small bulb of fennel roughly chopped. I've got 1 tart Granny Smith apple here, and I will dice it up just as soon as we're ready to use it. The recipe calls for 1/2 teaspoon of sage, ground sage, but I was told that it's a little bit overpowering for the dish, so I've opted to back it down to 1/4 teaspoon. 1/2 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper, and I've got some kosher salt here, and those are all of our ingredients. So let's get all this stuff moved out of our way and we will get started on our pork. I've got 2 freezer bags that I've cut open to lay flat, and I'm going to put my meat in between each of these to help pound it out thinly. But the first thing I want to do before I start that is to add just a few sprinkles of water onto my plastic, and that'll just help the meat slide a little bit. It adds a little bit of a lubrication to it. I'm going to bring in my pork tenderloin here. I kind of want to look at it, see which part I think I want to cut first, and this side has been cut by the butcher, so I think I'm going to go with that edge. And all I'm going to do is come down and slice right down the middle of it until I'm almost through to the other side, but you don't want to go all the way through. You just want to cut this in half, but leave a little bit of a hinge, because we're going to be rolling this up once we get our stuffing prepared. I'm going to go just a little bit deeper here. There we go. That looks pretty good. No holes or anything. I'm going to do the same thing with more water, but this time I'm just going to put it right on top of the pork. And I think that'll be fine. And then I will cover it up with a second freezer bag. And then with some gentle encouragement from a meat mallet, I'm going to flatten out this whole entire tenderloin until it's completely flat and hopefully an even thickness all the way through. Now that I have the meat evened out pretty much to the same thickness all the way across, I'm going to go ahead and transfer it from my cutting board over to my sheet tray here, and I'm going to be putting it up on a rack, but if you wanted to, you could certainly do this on top of parchment paper. Let me get this out of the way, get cleaned up, and we will move on to making our filling. So the first thing I'm going to do for our filling is chop up or dice up our apple. You want to be sure to remove the core. We're not going to need that part. Just slice as close to it as you can. And if you get a little bit, it's okay. You can just cut around it and cut that section out. Looks pretty good to me. So on this piece, I did get a little bit of the seed part. So I'm going to remove it, and then I'll dice these up. Now all that's left to do is roughly dice our apple. And while I'm doing this, I would like to remind you of the Gamers and Geeks playlist that JPickADeath and I have going on in our channels. It's a community-driven playlist made up of you, our friends and YouTube family. If you guys would like to be a part of it, it's really easy. All you have to do is go out and make a cooking video. And once you've done that, post it to your channel, and then let either JPick or I know in the comments section of our latest cooking videos, or if you're part of our Discord servers, you can let us know over there as well. The only thing we do ask, guys, is that you mention the Gamers and Geeks playlist somewhere in your video, as well as leaving the link to it down in your description. That way we can just continue to support everybody who's ever contributed to the list. Well, some of those stuck. I'm putting these into the base of a food processor, where we're going to process these along with, sorry about that, let's get this out of the way. I'm going to process it along with the baby spinach, our sage and ground black pepper, a good healthy pinch of salt, maybe just a tad bit more. And then once I have a little bit of room, I'm going to be adding in all of the fennel bulb as well. So let me get this processed up and we will move on to stuffing our pork. Alright guys, I've already gone ahead and laid some of my bacon down. And I'm going to set my pork tenderloin on top of it. And then I'm going to fill it with a little bit of our fennel and spinach filling. You want to be careful not to overstuff this. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to take my pork and pull the sides up. I don't think I can actually get it to roll. No, oh heck. The filling is a tad bit on the watery side. The recipe does not say to allow it to drain, so I'm just going to go ahead and mop up any of the excess liquid that comes out while I'm rolling this up. Alright, I think that is going to be good enough. And then I'm just going to sit here and wrap all the bacon completely around the pork, trying to cover every inch of it. I did go ahead and tuck some of my ends up. I hope that kind of helps hold some of that filling in there at the end. I am making sure that I cover up all the loose ends of bacon sort of in the middle of the next slice. That'll help prevent them from burning in the oven and from lifting a little bit. And the further you get down this, the more the bacon is helping to hold all this filling in and the pork together. So it gets a little bit easier the further along you go. Alright guys, here we go. Both of our pork tenderloins are completely wrapped in bacon. I'm going to go ahead and pop them over into a 375-degree oven where I'm going to let them roast for about 25 minutes. Alright guys, well I will see you once these are out of the oven and have cooled down a little bit. Our stuffed puffer pig is out of the oven and I went ahead and let it rest for about 10 minutes just to help it cool down and for all the juices to redistribute throughout the meat. So let's get in here, give this thing a nibble and see what we think about it. I did pop it underneath of the boiler for about 2 to 3 minutes just to try and help crisp up that bacon on the top. It didn't quite crisp up enough while it was cooking. And I did cook the larger of the two for about 5 minutes more just to make sure that it got cooked completely through. So overall, this is not a bad dish. I'm really glad that I cut the sage in half. I can still get a little hint of it, but I can tell if I had used the full half teaspoon, it would have been very overpowering. I do get a lot of the fennel, which I don't normally mind, but I think if I make this again, I'm definitely going to cut it down to maybe half of a small bulb. It's just a tad bit too much for my liking. But overall, yeah, I think this is a very good dish, and I will definitely be making it again with a few minor tweaks here and there. But that is going to be it for me for the day. If you guys have enjoyed this video, leave me a comment down below. If you guys tried this recipe out, let me know how it turns out for you. Remember to check out the Gamers and Geeks playlist as well as my other Star Wars cooking videos. I will leave the links down in the description to them. And as always, thank y'all so very much for joining me today. I've been Vault Girl. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I hope I'll see you in the next one.